Using Teflon tape the right way. This is Plumbing 101. Now, I'm not sure you know it, but there are a lot of different kinds of Teflon tape out there. Are they really needed? Well, I've got to tell you, I've been plumbing for 42 years now. To be honest, most of my life I've used just the white, regular Teflon tape. Now, in the past few years, you've had one of my favorites, the Big Blue Monster, come out. Now you've got all these different tapes that say they're for different things. This one here says gas lines. Temperature range 400 to 500 degrees Fahrenheit. Pressure range 300 PSI maximum. Only use on gas system. Got this one here. Thread sealing tape for stainless steel pipe. Now that tells me there's an anti-seize here, but really Teflon works like an anti-seize too. It kind of lubricates the threads so they'll tighten up without galling up on you. Again, another pink thread tape for water, green thread tape for oxygen. But it's funny, let's go back. The white Teflon tape, like I said, we've used it on almost everything. But let's go back to the Blue Monster, the PTFE thread tape. It says for use on threaded metal pipe, joints not exceeding a nominal pipe size of 3 inch. Remember, this is 1/2 inch wide. In assemblies handling natural gas, methane, propane, butane, petroleum. Distillates, pressures not exceeding 1500 PSI. So you've got all these different tapes that say they're made for all these different things. Today, I want to show you how to install Teflon tape the right way so you don't have any problems. So first of all, what really is Teflon tape? Well, it does two different things. It works as a lubricant, meaning it lubricates the threads so that when you tighten it down, it will actually go deeper and get tighter. Now, you don't want to over tighten it, but that's a good thing about Teflon tape too. It also works as a sealant. People telling me about wicking, candle wicking, stuff like that. Look, I've seen it done before, but here's my thing. If you never have a leak on a threaded pipe, why change what you're doing? Because somebody else tells you it's wrong? Well, Roger Bannister ran under a 4-minute mile when somebody told him he could never do it. So you determine what works best for you. I'm gonna show you how some people are putting it on the wrong way, and then I'm gonna show you the right way to do it. So basically, where all would you apply Teflon tape? On any of these threaded joints that you don't want to leak. Now, it's not all threaded joints. You have compression fittings. You don't put Teflon tape on there. I don't even put pipe dope on there. Those are made to compress a ring to tighten up. Now the flex supplies too, I've seen people put Teflon tape on there. You don't need to, not even on a flared connection. You wanna put Teflon tape on a coarse thread connection where you're gonna screw a fitting on it, you want it to tighten down, and you never want it to leak. Now me, like I said, I would use Teflon tape first and then pipe dope just to make sure I don't have any problems. And those of y'all that want to argue it, that's fine. I would love to hear what you do, why you do it, and where'd you learn it. But just like me, I'm assuming you do it the way you do it because you've never had any leaks. There's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way not to have a leak. We do things different. But when you see somebody going through that long process of wicking and then taping over it, why? If you do it right, tape it, dope it, you never have a problem. At least that's what's right for me. So there's lots of myths about what the different color tape should be used on. I've already gone through that. Stainless, okay, that's probably like an anti-seize. Gas, I get that, it's yellow. Green, oxygen, pink for water. Guys, like I said, I've used the white Teflon tape and the Blue Monster on just about all these systems, not the oxygen. I am med gas, but threaded connections just normally don't get dope because there's not any threaded connections like that, at least at the level that I was at. I'm not saying they've never been there, but when you're putting stuff together in med gas, normally you're brazing it. So what happens when you put the tape on backwards? Well, I want to show you that. So first of all, just so y'all know, that is not a coupling. That's actually a thread protector. Now, I've seen a lot of them get installed as couplings because the plumber didn't order enough for a job, but that's something you never want to do. Make sure you use the right fittings. After you get your thread protector off, normally I go ahead and brush the threads. Now, I normally keep an old wire brush around or an old fitting brush just for this. Apparently somebody needed the brush I had here. So what I'm gonna do is literally just kind of brush any dust, any rust, anything that may be on the thread that I don't want to cause a leak. So you brush it off a little bit, get a good look at it, make sure you don't have any problems. Now I'm gonna show you what happens when you put it on backwards and why you really don't want to do this. So if you look at this, threads go on right-handed, meaning righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, all right? At least most nipples are that way. If you put it on backwards, and I'm not gonna waste a lot of tape here because I'm just doing this to show you, but if you put it on backwards, whenever you turn it to the right, it starts to peel up right here, okay? So as that fitting goes in, it can actually pull your tape and pull it the wrong direction and make it come undone. Now, you don't want to ever do anything like that. That'll cause a leak. One other thing too is never go back and try to tape over something. These wire brushes work great to get down in the threads, help you get all your old tape out. Now this is where using an old fitting brush is good, because now you get this Teflon up in here. I wouldn't want to clean a fitting with that afterwards. Now remember, this is a very thin Teflon tape. I like starting at the base. Now some people say I start up by the threads. It's however you were taught. But I like starting at the base, and then on this thin tape, I'm liable to go 6 or 7 wraps. The reason being, it's thinner than normal. Now one thing that I did there that I try not to do, I don't want to come all the way to the very end. I want to be in that last thread and call that good. So to me, I like the way this looks. I would have no problem with that. Now, me, I would put pipe dope on top of it just because I want to make sure it seals off. That way, when the threads come in and go on, and remember, I know this is not a coupling, this is a thread protector, but as it tightens up, it's going the same way that the Teflon tape is. And I mean, look at this. I said it's a lubricant. Man, I've screwed it in pretty daggum far. I've only got a few threads left to tighten up. And I know, especially if I put pipe dope on there, this is gonna seal and I'm not gonna have any problems. So I'm gonna loosen it up. See how the further in it goes, the deeper in it pushes it. It's because of the tapered thread, and as it gets further in, it's gonna push that pipe dope or Teflon tape, whatever you've got on there, down deeper in those threads, and it's gonna tighten up and seal off. And I also do this if I reuse something. If I'm taking something apart and putting it back together, I always wanna make sure that I brush my threads, make sure everything's clean, make sure everything looks good. Now, as you can see, I'm slowly messing up my fitting brush there. That's why I like using old ones for stuff like this. Okay, so let's go to a thicker tape now, because I know the Monster is a thicker tape. So this one here, I may just use 4 or 5 wraps. Again, I like going at the base of the thread like I talked about. Come around and you hold this one right here until this one comes over the top of it. That way, see, I'm pulling on it, it does not slide. So there's 1 wrap, 2, 3, and 4 wraps, and I am right there at the end where I want to be. Now, if you look at it, man, my tape is down in the threads. It looks real good. This would probably be just fine. Again, make sure you tighten things down, but you don't want to over tighten it. You don't need to. If you've got a good sealant, a good pipe dope in there, your threads are protected. As you tighten up, it's going to be fantastic. How did you learn? The way that I learned has worked well for me, and I don't have leaks on threaded joints. Leave me a comment down below. What type tape do you use on what type installation, and what is required by your city inspectors? What do you do different than I do? I'm Roger Wakefield, Lead AP, helping you make more money in the trades.